أعوذ بالله من الشر الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. I'd like to welcome everyone first and foremost to the gathering for tonight, inshallah. That will be talking about basically the education system and how that people can elevate themselves and work towards and organize their time in education. We're going to look at a couple of points. I'm joined by Brother Murtala here, and he's going to start off by highlighting the importance of the ideas of education prior to uni, choosing what path and how it differentiates from pretty much back in our countries, and how the opportunities are different, etc. And study versus work. And he's going to be talking about the difference between studying what you like and the work opportunities that are available. So without any further ado, I'd like to pass it on to Brother Murtala to get us started for tonight. Brother Murtala.
Thank you very much, Brother Abdullah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Thanks for all the brothers joining us over here. And inshallah, I'll be starting off. The first point I'd like to start, like for the boys that haven't started university yet and thinking of entering university, and the benefits they get out of university versus alternative paths. Such paths can include going TAFE or doing some without thinking of going any certificates, and just go and find a tradie job or something. The first point I'd like to touch is study versus work. So after you finish your 12, what do you do after that? So you finish your 12 and then you're like, either should I go uni or should I take should I just go work, or should I join security or whatever alternative work. My suggestion is, from experience wise, it's a lot better if you enter university. The benefits outweigh it's a lot outweigh the just going alternative paths. This would include, for example, going to new university. You secure yourself for the future. For example, if you want to go into any work, for example, if you get after you're 12, someone comes up to you and tells you, I'd like you to work for my company or something. Do you want to come and work for me? You probably want to say yes. You'll take it as part-time if you're given the opportunity, but never neglect studies. Always go for studies. Why that would be is, if you go work, after 5-6 years, you want to advance yourself. And when you want to advance yourself, go for a management sector or something, you will be asked, what have you studied? Have you got any kind of study or education? And if you say, look, I haven't got anything, you're just going to be stuck in that one place, and you're not going to advance yourself any further. So in that perspective, if you just give me a certificate, look, I've done a course at university, and that course, it's going to stick out. It's going to give you the answer, like, okay, you got yourself, you're educated, might as well pick up your advance your standing. If you haven't got that, if you decide alternative path, just go out and work, you really limited yourself to future opportunities, such as if you go overseas countries, everything they require nowadays. It's all about certificate, and there's nothing to lose really. If you're coming, like for example, if you're gonna go, it's like, might as well go do any kind of tradie job or something. But then you think about it, if you go and work in that tradie job, and then you're like, university, is it important? What benefits do I get? Well, the benefits, you first educate yourself, then you secure your future. Even though if you finish your university job, you finish your university degree, and then like, I haven't got a job, it doesn't really matter. At least you got a certificate on the side. So later on in the future, if you go alternative job, if you want to get advanced, or go into a different sector, I got this certificate, and then you can advance yourself. You get higher pay rise. You get all these added bonuses, and instead of after you finish your job or you retire, there's no money coming into you anyway. So there's a lot of benefits in that one. And second thing I'd like to touch on is about picking your course. So if the benefits of picking your course, and I'd like to touch on my experience of going into university. There's two differences when going to university. You have to think about, it's what you like versus your work opportunities. There's two different things. When I first began university, I didn't get much advice on which course I should be taking. So I just liked computers and thought, I like computers. It's computer engineering. and it's all over the world, and just thought it like that prematurely. So went in and took engineering, but in the computer sector. But then after a couple of years when applying for jobs, I found out that there's not much computer jobs in Australia. There's aeronautical engineers, they're having trouble, electrical a little bit, computers as well. So what you have to think is take aside what you like and see whether work opportunities exist in this country. For example, what computer engineers and software is starting to pick up in Australia. Computer and software both have a great position in the US, for example, where they have Microsoft, Intel. There's a lot of work opportunity. In Australia, if you want to go for something that has a future in everywhere and all over the world, I would say civil. Go for civil. For the boys going here, anything that's got to do with civil engineers, you'll find a lot of work. You're not really not limited. It's whichever country you get, there's development happening all over the world. And so when I entered and I started doing computers, as I went third and fourth year, and I started applying for jobs. The job application that I received and the calls, I got a few calls, and the first thing they asked, like, what's computer engineering? Like, what do you guys do? Like, you feel funny. It's like, computer engineers work with computers, and, we can integrate, in software and everything. So not many in Australia, not many managers know what computer engineers are. So you have to explain yourself in that, section. But in civil engineers, there's a lot of work opportunities everywhere you go. So there's differentiate between what you like and differentiate about, work opportunities in Australia, especially the country you're working in. If you're planning to live, try to secure work that's, all over the world. And what I didn't know about when I went in the computer sector, section, studies, it's, that work opportunities thing. So now I'm pretty much, I want to give the boys, it's something to take into consideration. I have 6 more months of my internship, and then I'm pretty much done with university. But as my advisor told me, it's if you can't find work, come back, and then you can pick up extra subjects and change your course into something, open it to the IT sector. So everything, everything IT is covered. So that gives you a little bit wide range of opportunities. But I've spoken to my civil, peers and programming peers, and they're pretty much there's a lot of work in that sector. There's a lot of work in Australia that when you finish, you can pretty much find work there. It's a lot of opportunities in them two sections. So that's the second point I touched on, and the third that I'd like to touch on is pretty much these 3 main points about why you should choose, why it's important, and that's pretty much it. University is, if you haven't got a job, if you haven't got a certificate or a degree, it's kind of you're kind of like limiting your life, and you're kind of like, how would I say it, not like a gambling kind of thing, but there's not much future secured wherever you go. If you go back to, say, for example, if I want to go to Iraq, and then I want to apply for a job, what am I going to apply for? They're like, you've been living overseas in Australia and you've had all these opportunities, so what have you brought to this country? What are you going to work? What do you have? If I told them, I got a certificate, here's my certificate, take it for consideration. They're like, okay, you got a certificate, you can work in this and this section and advance yourself. If you haven't got anything, what do if you're going to go any other countries besides Australia, what are you going to present to them? At least if you have something to hand out, that some degree of some choice, whether it's science, whether it's engineering, whether it's teaching, it's a very vast field. You can get, whatever, it's anything actually, it's anything, whether it's, going to TAFE. TAFE is an excellent opportunity. The difference between TAFE and uni is university is all theoretical work, where TAFE it's practical. It's great hands-on experience, so it's anything. Anything is always better than nothing. So for the people going to the university, for the, inshallah, Shabab going to university, always think about going to university and not finding, after you're 12, when you get your certificate, no matter what you get in Australia, just think of university. Think of getting a university or TAFE, whatever you want to do. At least that certificate has to be in your hand. Just secure your future. And so these were the main points I'd like to touch on, and inshallah it has benefit, the Shabab. And if anyone has any questions, inshallah just present them, and inshallah I'll be able to answer them. And now I'd like to go back to Brother Abdullah to continue about
Thank you very much.
association.
Thank you very much, Brother Murtada. Just to recap, basically what Brother Murtada has just stated is we have amazing opportunities in this country, and this is why, mainly everyone's here, is because we have opportunities that, our fathers and forefathers were lacking, and that's what Brother Murtada highlighted, that, we have this opportunity. Make sure we make the most of it, that, we get as many degrees as we can, educate ourselves, better the community, better ourselves, and to follow your dream, basically. If, you can, obviously, he's saying, with the whole idea of, work being available. So you got to put that into perspective as well, because, like our fathers and forefathers have this whole concept of, either you're a doctor or an engineer. So, whereas, here it's whatever job pretty much you can, grasp onto, or whatever degree you can get. Most of them do have, fields that you can work in, and that's what Brother Murtadan highlighted. And thank you for highlighting that.
Sure, exactly.
I'd like to move your kind of attention from how to and what to try to endeavor into, and your core structures, and into actual time management issues, and what Islam says about, educating oneself and the importance of it. So, starting off with education, we have all this, all being Muslims gathered here tonight. We have the importance from our Prophet, from our Imams, that mention time and time again, educate yourself. We have, narrations from the Prophet saying, "Utlubul ilm walau fissin," educate yourself, find knowledge, seek knowledge, even if you have to travel. And that's what the metaphorical meaning for this hadith is. You travel to Sin, which was very far at the time. We have scriptures saying that you have to educate yourself at a young age. Whereas if you educate yourself at a young age, it's like engraving into rock. It's you can't remove it from your memory. Whereas if you try to educate yourself at an older age, you're less likely to grasp onto the knowledge. It's as if the example is given is as if you're writing on water. It's useless. So because we have strength, because we're in this, we're given this opportunity in this country, we want to make the most of it. So what are the means that we have that we can, delve into this, and how can we achieve this greatness in the community? How can we better ourselves? Because a lot of people have this idea that there's smart students and then there's dumb students. But as I've finished a degree, and I've seen gifted students, and that's what people differ on. You have gifted students that they find it so much easier to grasp knowledge, so much easier. They'd read something once, and they've already maintained it in their heads. Whereas the other people, there's no such thing as dumb, unless they have a mental illness or whatnot. There's a different category. Whereas we find students, they're either organized and hardworking, or they're lazy. That's the two categories. There's no such thing as smart and dumb. There's no such thing. I remember back in year 12, we had a conference in the Opera House, where we had a student in the HSC back in those days. I think it's ATAR now. In the HSC times, she got 100%, and that's very difficult to do. Very, very difficult to do. And she got 100%. And now you look at her, and we went to her and we said, we asked the question. Says, why? What made you so knowledgeable? How did you become so smart? How did you get 100%? It's the highest percentile. And the thing that she said was very interesting. She says, I'm not the smartest student. I'm not a gifted student, because gifted students maintain knowledge much easier. Sorry. So she says, I worked very, very hard to achieve this. And they were asking her, how did you manage your time? Because she didn't do just the main 5. She did 7 units. So that's 2 extra units that might not have counted anyway. So she said, I organize my time. And that's what I have to preach to my brothers here tonight, is time management. And I'm the worst person to talk about this. Yeah, I am. But with time management, if, especially in year 11, and a lot of brothers, are probably going to towards year 11 or going to year 12. The idea is what? In year 11, the beautiful thing is nothing is counted. Okay? Nothing at all is counted towards your HSC. But the important aspect that we learn from year 11 is what? Is how we are to go about the routine for year 12, which actually counts, which will, write or have the stepping stones towards our degree, towards our university. If we at a young age develop that, that organization skills, if we develop, becomes part and parcel of us, You know, that time management issue, the fact and how we deal with everything, you know, that becomes part and parcel of us, which means when we become in year 12, this is all easy. We won't have to leave assignments to the last minute and progress. We have that innate nature because we've developed it, saying what? Saying that when we have an assignment, we go home. That student, when we talked to her, when she had the 100 percentile, she said, this is her routine, okay? She says, I used to go home and I used to dedicate for that day to finish off all my homework. If I had homework that day, then and there, I'd finish it, so I have nothing. I can look at, you know, I can go see my parents. I can socialize. You know, I have free time. You know, remove the distractions for those 2 hours. That's all you need. 2 hours per day. You put in the hard yards, and you can relax for the rest of the day. You have your own weekends. You know, but what? Do not let it progress, because step upon step, you know, you leave it one day, you leave it the next day, and it just piles up and piles up and piles up, and you know. And then you think to yourself, and it's very depressing, because we find that people have so much things, you know, packed up on the side and left to do at a later time, and it's too much, and they can't handle the stress, and then they go on themselves, and they think, you know, I'm not a smart student, or I can't do this, or this is too hard. Whereas, you know, in actual fact, if you took that work and you did it there and then, you know, you'd be not only one step ahead of everyone else. You wouldn't just be one step ahead of everyone else. You'd have, you know, you'd be relaxed, number two, and you can begin to advance yourself. Once you know that you can organize your time, and you know that this routine, you know, you can be sure, and we can definitely conclude that you will achieve high ranks. You will achieve the idea and the concept that I want to educate myself. I want to better the community, because you'll have more time to do so. You will be organized, and that's the one thing that she stressed on. This straight A student really stressed on. And so, you know, with that being said, you know, educating yourself, you know, like Brother Murtala said, go after what you like. You know, these job opportunities are not like that of you know, our countries back then. It's either, you know, it's either ilmi or adabi back in our country. It's either you go towards, you know, the education field, you know, or the kind of the scientific field. So it's one or the other. It's one or the other. Here, if you start a degree and you stop at halfway, you can start another degree without a shadow of a doubt. Is that correct?
That's, not given that privilege.
Exactly. We're not given that privilege back then, so we can utilize this privilege, you know, as much as we can. And you know, go for your dreams. Don't stop at 1 degree. Do 2, 3, 4 degrees. You know. Because the beautiful thing is, if we educate ourselves as Shia, if we want to educate our community, if we want to advance as a community, you know, and this is what Ahlul Bayt wants. They never wanted people to just, you know, sit back at home and not educate themselves. Imam Ali says what? And Imam Sadiq states this as well. He says, you are not from our Shia if you do not advance day upon day. That's mannerisms, that's ethics, and that may be knowledge as well. So you have to work on advancing yourselves, brothers. So you got to keep that in mind as well. You know, education is very important as well in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When Imam Ali is asked, he says, if you had 1 more hour to live. Now look at the importance of education. Imam Ali says, if you have 1 more hour to live, how would you spend it? And a man would say, I'd spend it in prayer. Another person said, I'd spend it giving out charity. The other person said, I'd get my close ones. You know, someone said, I'm going to go to a masjid and finish off the remainder of my days. And Imam Ali says, the best, in my opinion, the best thing to do in your last hour is to seek knowledge. And that's a very, very vital concept when understanding the importance of educating yourself. Because as a community, we can grow. As a community, if we have doctors in our community and engineers, teachers, everyone plays a vital role. When Imam Mahdi comes, he doesn't want everyone to be doctors. Who's going to take care of the other things? Yes? Who's going to educate the people? Who's going to be taking care of building, you know, the empire? So everyone plays a vital role. You know, not everyone's obviously going to go be fighting in the front lines. You know, everyone has their own form of jihad, their own form of struggle to help the imam in what he does. And that's what we strive, you know, to become the best representatives of Ahlul Bayt that we can. And you know, the stepping stones and the starting point in which we can do that is what? Is to educate ourselves. And so, you know, basically, you know, I'd like to touch up on one more point before we go to the question and answer segment, is the importance of good friends in this field. Now, someone might overlook this, but it's very, very important. The Prophet says what? He says the effect of good friends is like a person working with fragrance. You know, you might think to yourself, he's not affecting me. You might think to yourself that, you know, even if he has bad habits, if he's lazy, if he doesn't do his assignments, if he leaves it to the last minute, etc. This is in talking about education first and foremost, and in other aspects of life. So he says, if your friend he works with fragrances, then عطر. It says, even though you do not work with him, even though you do not, you know, take part in what he does, the effect that he is your friend, working alongside him, just being around him, means that you will have some of that good scent stuck on you when you go home. So meaning what? In the metaphorical sense, if you have a good friend, some of his good traits will rub off on you. And, you know, vice versa. If you have a bad friend, the Prophet says it's like a blacksmith. Even if you don't do anything, if you don't help him with anything, if you don't, you know, help in his work or go to, you know, with him, you know, to do what he does, he says that a bit of black dust will rub off on your clothes. And the example that what? If you have a bad friend, some of his bad traits will rub off on you. He's not saying may rub off on you. He says it will rub off on you. Even though you do not know it. You might overlook it. It might be subconscious. It will rub off on you. And that's the importance of good friends. When Imam Sadiq tells us about the educating yourself, he says what? He says when you want to befriend someone, make sure that he's higher than you. You want to be like him. If you have someone that's lazy, you're not going to excel. You're not going to be wanting to better yourself, to look towards something. But if you have someone that's more mature, let's say, or has made it in life, or is more educated, etc., you're gonna be wanting to become like him. He's gonna be like your role model to achieve something that he has, you know, or go in his footsteps. That's why we have our imams as our role models, because we want to achieve their greatness. We want to achieve their knowledge. We want to achieve their akhlaq. You know, and that's the importance of having friends. You want to have someone there, as Imam Sadiq says, to excel yourself. Okay, so do not overlook, you know, the idea or the concept of friendship in this category, especially at such a young age. Know who your friends are. You know, and there's categories, and I need everyone to go home and, you know, just think about what the Imams say about friendship and who to befriend and who not to befriend, because it's a very large topic in itself, you know, and we don't have time for it tonight. But I just want to highlight the importance of the idea and the concept of friendship. And so now taking that into place, and just to conclude everything up, inshallah, you know, Brother Murtala said important points, saying, you know, how to choose your course, you know, where you should see yourself in the future, to understand, you know, the job opportunities, you know, out there, and if you can work in those industries, you know,
Of a degree, basically. Yeah.
exactly. So the validity of the degree and how can it applies to the workforce. And yeah, I basically just kind of touched up on the time management. Everyone, you know, time management is different, etc. I just gave you the example of a straight A student. Yeah, the importance of education in hadith and the importance of friends. So that pretty much concludes the conference for tonight. Now we're going to go move on to the question and answer segment, inshallah.
Exactly, yeah, inshallah, brother. There's like two questions here. Yeah, that you can continue on them.
Okay.
First one, it says the importance of free time. You probably want to touch on that.
Okay. Do you want me to do it?
Yeah, you can touch on that, and then I.
The importance here. Look,
And then
look, free time is very, very, very important. Look, people may use it for sport, people may use it for their hobbies, but you need time off. You can't, you know, all work and no play, as they say. You know, it's very important to have free time. It's important to do what you like in those free time. You know, if someone plays soccer, then go forth, you know, play soccer, do what you love. If you like FIFA, you know, play FIFA. This is important in your lifestyle to keep you healthy, you know, just, you know, al-aql salim fi jism salim. So make sure, you know, if it's sport, that's what you like, then do sport. But it's very important for the balance in your life.
exactly, yeah, that's right. It's not always, you know, study. You always need time off and break. So in the free time, you know, when you have, you know, you finish your studies, when you get, you know, free time, the best free time you can take is probably, you know, take 2 hours, 3 hours to, you know, do whatever physical activities you want to do. You know, some brother doing gym over there, you know, some, you know, play soccer, whatever you want to do. But if it's the best thing to do is, and I really recommend that, and it's helped me through my uni study, is to always try and study before going to bed. I've noticed that in the last year, and my marks have dramatically, yeah, alhamdulillah, it's dramatically increased. The information just stays, at night if you study. For example, you come back from school, do your homework and, do whatever you want, but make a few notes there. Before you go to bed, just touch on them notes. That will, as soon as you wake up in the morning, you'll find the information still here. And it's remarkable that, it's that little 5 or 10 minutes to remember before going to sleep that really helps you, and that helps information stick in your mind. Because, I've read an article, just a few months ago about how the brain works, and it says, thank you, brother. And it says, when you sleep, the brain does not stop working. And what happens during your sleep, the brain rearranges information all over the place. It's like, I don't know if you guys know in the computer world, it's similar. You have a hard drive. When you defragment, there's a segment called defragment. When you do a defragment on the hard drive, it puts information back to their original place. So when you want to access them, access faster. They say, the scientists, the brain, when you sleep, that's exactly what it does. It gets the information, puts it back, reorganizes the whole brain, so it makes more space for information to learn. In that sense, you can say that the brain's always never resting. It's always working. Even in your sleep, it's working. So when you sleep and you remember the points, and then it made sense when I started, before going to bed, just touch up on them points. It made sense, why the information kept staying. It's because the brain keeps working. And that's one really opportunity. So one really good point. So to touch on that free time, free time, just go do whatever you want. But make sure, before bed, just try to touch up on the points that you want to study.
How can a student avoid procrastination?
Oh, that's a good one. It's always a good point.
Do you want to start? Do you want to start?
Yeah, procrastination. I've experienced that a lot of times anyway, and it got to me until the third year at uni, and then until I really want, that's it, I've had enough. It's procrastination. I've had this mainly with my assignments, not much with my exams. How to beat that one? My one thing I can give you guys, if you're given an assignment, if they give you 1 year time frame or they give you 2 days time frame, the end result will be the same, because you're always going to end up doing it in the last hour or two. That's how I found it. Because in subjects they gave him 1 month to do an assignment, and I left it until the last 2 days. In the first 3 years, still trying to get that progress into uni, and it's still And I've noticed when they give me an assignment to do in a week, and it's exactly the same thing. So it doesn't matter whether they give you an assignment due in a year or a week, you're going to always do it. I found myself always doing it. That's of the last 2 or 3 days, and then I always end up with struggle. How to beat that one? As soon as the assignment is given to you, start on it straight away. Start on it. Try your best to start it. Go home. Never say, okay, I'll take a rest today, and maybe start on it in 5 or 6 minutes. No, just start on the same minute you are given. As soon as you get the opportunity, start on it. And if you're saying I got free time, I want free time. Mm-hmm. If you haven't started the assignment, no free time. Just at least begin. If they, for example, if they want 3 pages only on a subject, start at least a paragraph. You have to start it now. Do a paragraph and think about it. Don't start thinking about tomorrow I'll continue. Slowly keep continuing progressing. Because if you're gonna, as soon as you leave it a little bit, it's gonna end up, and so it's better you think I'll finish the assignment now, and then I get a lot of free time. I got a lot of free time. I have 2-3 days a week, a month of free time. I can do it, further studies, do my other work. So as soon as the opportunity is there, take it. Never say I'll do it in 1 hour or 30 minutes. It usually ends up if you go play physical activity, and then you come back, tonight I'll do it tomorrow. It keeps progressing.
And it drags on.
Yeah, exactly.
One other point that is important. You have to kind of, and again, it goes back to time management.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
but with procrastination, is to avoid it is to understand what makes what it kind of triggers your it's what you like, basically. So to avoid procrastination, if you have your phone on you, and that's the biggest tool of procrastination. You have Facebook, Instagram, and whatnot on there. So just if you want to study, make sure that first and foremost those stuff that draw your attention, the internet, YouTube, whatever, try to put them aside for that at least whatever time frame that you want to study. try to put them aside, maybe important phone calls or whatnot, but just put them aside. You don't have to check Facebook from time to time. You don't have to look at your Instagram or whatnot. Just put everything aside, do your work, and you're more likely to do your work. Maybe have a break, because free time, like we said, is very important. It will drain you if you try to go for 2-3 hours, straight. So, do the kind of on-off, like half an hour study, maybe 10-15 minute break, check whatever. So to avoid procrastination, otherwise you're going to be rereading the same text 4 or 5 times, without understanding anything. So, know what, draws your attention, what you usually procrastinate. It makes you procrastinate, put that aside. Some people it's food, maybe it's not mobile phones. Some people it's food, they get carried away eating, Everyone's different. So understand what makes you procrastinate first and foremost, and put that to the side. Just concentrate, like we said, you know yourself better than anyone. So how you study is different than how I study. I like to do a half an hour, then go for a 10-15 minute break, then do another half an hour, and that keeps me awake, it keeps me aware, it doesn't let me sleep.
And explain.
Procrastination, sorry, basically means it's like free time. It's like just trying to
It's basically saying you're gonna do something, but you end up not doing it.
Yeah, exactly. Delaying it, and not doing anything at the time. You're just probably staring on your phone or something instead of, you have a 2,000 word assignment and whatnot.
So exactly. So it's put on a time frame, but it's never met. So
exactly.
It keeps, I'll do it then, but it never gets happened. So that's what it basically means.
Like probably out of laziness as well.
Exactly.
It's part and parcel.
Like I said, if you're not organized,
if you have to finish it by tonight. If you set a time, not obviously if it's due tomorrow, you have to do it by tonight. I don't mean that. I mean, like, you set a time for yourself. You set that I want to finish an assignment a week before it's due, and then touch up on it for the rest of the week. So you make sure you finish that assignment, and that may avoid procrastination. But, so try to put that into perspective. Everyone works differently. These are just the ideas that help us. They may not help you. Something else might. But know what makes you tick. Know what you procrastinate with, and try to avoid it when you're studying, and just procrastinate in your free time. So the next question, you want to choose one?
Probably start from bottom up.
Okay. What's your advice during school holidays? Okay, this is an interesting one. That's now we have 3 weeks left.
Exactly.
Look, you're free to do what you want. As long as if we're talking about education-wise, we're talking about when you wanting to get ready for uni, or you wanting to get ready for studies, or you wanting to get ready for that routine. Don't worry too much now. But let's say a week prior, when you go and you get your school stuff, because everyone gets excited when they get their school stuff. Whether from Smiggle or get it color coordinated or whatnot. Everyone does. And it's awesome when they have sales on. But so you go, you know what you want to do from the next year. So I want, for example, to color code, color code my stuff, and it's also important to know what kind of learner you are. There's kinesthetic learners, there's auditory learners, there's visual learners. Yeah, so the main people are visual learners. So if you color coordinate everything, it's going to be making you more likely to study, or more in tune with your study load, etc. And you have that bit more kind of excitement to your study. This is scientifically proven, by the way. It's not what I'm saying. But, with your free time, use it as much as you can. Have as much fun as you want. Go play soccer, meet up with friends, whatnot. A week before, try to buckle down. Because if you don't buckle down, like, let's say a week before, and know what you're going to do, and know what you want to do, and know how you're going to do it, how you want to organize your time. Get a diary. That's very important. Make sure you get a diary. Doesn't matter. Get used to it from now. Write important dates in, write that I have to finish this assignment by this day, and just get into the routine of time management. That helps a lot, okay? So, say you have a soccer match, you have a FIFA session, online with someone, write it in. It will get you used to the whole idea of time management. I have to, get some FIFA points or whatnot by this time. Anything. Just put in your book. Put in your book and get the idea that I have to finish this at this time. You know what I mean? So try to develop into the idea of time management and how you can finish off your stuff. So, do you want to add anything to that, brother? Or?
Yes, brother. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Wanted to touch on that. What do you do in the holidays? For the brothers that have smaller brothers, whether you're into university, how you want to touch that one is probably try to get, for the people that are in university, if you want to prepare for the next semester, if you have someone that's done the subject, try to get their notes and tell them to give you a heads up. Heads up, how did you find that one? What was the difficult points, and touch on that one before the semester starts. So you get, uh, 6 week, if you're good enough, you probably can prepare for the whole subject. I had a student once that in electrical engineering, the standard mark was 60. He got 75 at D. That was, it's very rare. And I went up to him and told him, how'd you get that? I haven't heard of any student getting somewhere in the 70s. Usually the average is like 50, and it was during a very tough lecturer's time, and there was an 80% failure rate in that subject. And 50 was, to get 50, this, one of the lecturers told me, he was actually, he's a tutor. He told me, I just passed, the first time I did it, I got 49.5, and I got failed by 0.5. And when I did it the second time, he made me pass, I studied for it. But the guy that got 75, asked him, how'd you get 75? He said, I grabbed the notes of the previous student. I told him what was dilemma, what do you have? And I studied all them points. And throughout the whole semester, I prepared myself before the semester started. So when the semester started, I went straight to the lecturer. Look, I don't understand this. I don't understand this. So he got pretty much a head start in front of the whole thing. So that prepared him.
One step ahead, yeah.
Exactly, yeah, that's right. So that also, that's a good point to take on for the uni students. For the primary school students, if you have older brothers, for me, what I'm doing now, I got little brother, he's in I think he's in year 2, and I got a sister in year 6. I noticed the first thing I'm teaching all their timetable from 0 to 12. They have to know that is a foundation, and every day I teach them from, look, even my little brother, mashallah, he started every day, I tell him, you got from 0 to 1, or, it's been a week, and alhamdulillah, they're reaching up to 12 now, because every day I gave him, from 0 to 3, and then from 3 to 5, every day 2 or 3, and I get my brothers also to help him, because education is really important when you're young. If you can stick the information, train yourself when you're young to study, you will find that procrastination when you grow up, that subject which that's going to be, easily get done with. Because if you train when you're young, you start studying when you're young, the information, that's going to be your routine. See how, like, soccer stars, how do you think they're soccer stars? They train when they're young. And as soon as they grow up, they find, kicking at the goal. If someone is trying to kick the goal, and that guy that laughed at him, he kicks the ball straight in after 100 yards or whatever it is, I don't know what the measurement. How do you do that? It's like, I've been training all my life. So, now you're young, try to read a book before you go to bed. Read a book, it's, whatever it is. Maths is really important. If you can tackle maths, you can tackle a lot of subjects. For now, what I told my brothers and sisters, like these little two, the main ones, they have to know their timetables, no matter what. They have to know their timetable, and they have to know reading. Reading, it has to be, consistent. Everything has to be consistent. So when they grow up, they're not gonna have, they're not gonna find it difficult. They're gonna find it easy to study. They're not gonna sit down and they look. I'll probably do this in 30 minutes. I told them, look, now, every day, every day the same time. I told them 6:30, I'm gonna test you. So they know if I see him playing around, like, you got 2 hours until I test you. So they go back. Yeah, exactly. So it's through that routine. Through that routine that you need to keep it going when you're young. So if you have little brothers, and try to get them in that, 0 times table, and go up progress from there. I think that's it.
Beautifully said. We have two kind of, it's very similar questions. I think we can tackle two at the same time. One says, how can you manage your time in studies to achieve the best results? And one says, in university, daily studies are vital for good grades. How do you motivate yourself and manage your time sufficiently to do this? Yeah, this very important points. We did touch on it slightly before, but like we said, you gotta. It's gonna even collide with this as well. They're all the same kind of points. This one says, in uni, daily studies is vital. How can you manage time, motivate yourself? The other one says, can you manage your time in studies to achieve the best results? And this one says, what do you think about studying and working and doing one day of TAFE? Now these are all exactly the same kind of concept of questions. Exactly, they all talk about time management. They all talk about how you can manage your time to get the best results. And especially with the one that says trying to juggle a couple of things with your routine. If you know yourself that you can handle one day of TAFE, you can handle working and studying at school, then, you know, by all means, if you know yourself that you can handle this and you're a very organized person, then endeavor into it, well, you know, without a shadow of doubt. But if you know yourself you cannot handle this, you know, it will get out of hand, and you will fall behind in schoolwork, you'll fall behind in work, you'll fall behind, you know, at TAFE and whatnot, then, you know, you got to sort out your priorities, see where you're lacking, see what's more important, you know, set your priorities, in light of your time, in light of how you manage your time, how you organize your time. You know, you need to have a balance in your life, you know, and that's what tonight is all about, you know, organizing your life, organizing your time, you know, to meet your priorities, in all aspects, and so just, yeah, make sure that you know what you have to do, your priorities, set them out, put everything on the table, and say A, B, C, you know, and you might not make that decision yourself. You might need the assistance of your, you know, your fellow kin, you know, your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, or anyone that you think or deem, you know, knowledgeable or has experience or wisdom, in a manner that can guide you to the right way to do such a thing, you know, or has, you know, previous experience. So time management goes in all three of these questions. So I'm going to tackle all three at once. So yeah, basically that for me, organizing your time just, you know, says it all. Brother Mukhtar?
Definitely, I just would like to touch up on that one. Okay, one thing I can tell my brothers and sisters, whatever you are, and whatever you want to study, whether it's high school, it's a general thing. There's one word, it's called consistency. Even in your holidays, if you want to, like, you know, not go into that procrastination and, you know, answering these questions, keep it consistent. In the holidays, I'm just gonna, you know, give personal experiences, and then you're on the general side, so I just want to give them personal experience. I find that going in the holidays, if you're gonna spend, you know, a lot of free time just you know, just playing around and, you know, computer games or, you know, playing soccer and everything, going back to studies is gonna be hard. You're gonna take at least 3 or 4 weeks into uni until you really kick in. So how are you gonna tackle that? In the holidays, start consistent. Never stop studying. Half an hour a day. Instead of, you know, half an hour a day, go, you know, hold a book, start reading anything, you know, anything. Keep updated. Don't keep your mind on, keep uni on the side of your mind. Always think about it. Never, you know, so you can keep that consistent thought. So when you're going back into study, you know, even I had my friends, they're like, how'd you feel all that? You know, 5 weeks into the subject, it's like, I'm still finding it hard to go back in. You know, it's difficult. So how are you going to tackle that? Just, you know, like I said to university students, trying to grab the work, what subject you're going to plan in the future, you know, and take next semester. Try to call someone that has done it, you know, a friend that has done it, and, you know, read the notes over it and go over them. Trust me, you'll find it a lot easier, and your marks will increase dramatically. Yeah, and it's surprisingly, if you study before that one, what are you going to have? You know, the questions that are in doubt, as soon as uni started, you go to the lecturer will be surprised they're also ahead, and you'll be ahead of yourself. So there's nothing really...
Win-win situation.
Exactly, yeah, so there's nothing really to lose. So to tackle all the procrastination, everything, keep consistent studies, you know. And it's like play 9 hours a day, whatever you want, and take that half an hour, you know, just to study something, learn something, and from the subject.
Get into a routine, yeah.
Exactly, routine.
Beautifully said.
And that's,
any last points you want to add before we conclude for tonight?
That's all I.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
We have one last question. So it's not relating to the topic, but it is the last question. We did say we're going to answer everything, and it says, "What do you think of Brother Hussein's voice?" And I think it's angelic. So that being said, may God reward you for your voice. He's a Quran reciter, and yeah. Thank you for being you. But yeah, with that being said, that pretty much concludes the conference for tonight, brothers. And inshallah, someone's, you know, if you gained one thing and you can apply it in any manner, you know, time management, you know, you start working on it, you know, from tonight. You know, you go home and you think to yourself, how can I better myself? How can I educate myself? You know, how can I be the person that the Imam wants me to be, or how can I achieve this, you know? And you set a goal and you try to meet it, you know, set a deadline and try to meet it. So this is basically just motivation, you know. We're developing on our experiences, what helped us, you know. But then again, Imam Ali does say, you know, the people, you know, in a different generation, make sure you treat them differently. So, you know, it might work for you, it might not work for you, you know what I mean? So each one, you know, you have to endeavor into what, you know, helps you to manage your time, to organize your time, to, you know, to better yourself. And, you know, consultation, you have everyone's help around you. So try to better yourself by, you know, set a time frame and try to hit the nail on the head, basically, by educating yourselves. And that brings us to the conclusion for
Can
tonight.
I have
Tala?
just one last thing? Yes, brother. Okay, boys. So I just like to sum up what I said. Think about degree. It's really important. Even from now, degree is really important. No matter where you go, whatever country. We have brothers, me and Abdullah, and a lot of uni students. We have experience into university, and it's what if you ever in doubt of what to choose or what you want to get or the work opportunities, think about it. Think about what you like, but also ask about in Australia if you're gonna live here. What's the work opportunities that you're gonna have? So if you're thinking to go into a degree, research about that degree before going. Might not, you might finish that degree and like, okay, I'll get the degree, but then it's what am I gonna do here? Might work overseas if you're planning to stay here. But that said, getting a degree is always better than nothing. Eventually, if you get into a different sector or subject, even if you haven't got something related, look, I've studied, so I can advance myself. Let me go, and advance. So education is really important. And if anyone needs any help into get consistent in studies, if you need help into your university work, but the brothers are always here to help.
Tutoring, whatnot.
And exactly, yeah, inshallah. If you want to get directions of where to go in Australia, in studies and everything, inshallah we'll be here to help and give you our experience. And yeah, inshallah.
And beautifully said. So, yeah, take that into perspective, brothers. And yeah, so basically, in conclusion, we pray to Allah Subhanahu wa Taala that He makes us of the soldiers of Imam Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman. To strive. We pray to Allah that He makes us among those who can organize the time, because it is important. To better oneself, to educate oneself, and and to progress as a community as a whole. So with that being said, we pray to Allah with the Fatiha, but before it, the loudest of your salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.